My name is Hannah Oberlin, and the poem I chose was The Fig Tree by Sylvia Plath. Sylvia Plath was an American author and poet. She was born in 1932 in Boston, Massachusetts, and she passed away in 1963 due to suicide. More about Sylvia Plath is that her father passed away when she was just 8 years old. He was a very controlling man. He was very controlling over her younger brother, and their mother. Um, However, after his passing, her mother did a really good job of stepping up and providing for her and her younger brother, and she was always very supportive of Plath and exceptionally supportive in her writing and her poetry. Plath published her first poem when she was also 8 years old, shortly after her father passed away, and she began selling these poems when she was in high school, which showed her that she could make money off of the thing that she loved doing, which was writing. All throughout high school and college, she was top of her class. She excelled um, academically, and she never really struggled in school um, academically. However, she struggled heavily with depression and her mental health. And right before she went to Smith College, she was actually hospitalized for suicidal actions. After she graduated from Smith College, she continued on to Newnham College in England, where she met her husband, and they ended up having two children before their divorce. After she completed all of her schooling, she became a professor at Smith College, and her novel, The Bell Jar, was published in 1963, the same year as her death, and it was first published under a fake name of Victoria Lucas. This novel is where her poem The Fig Tree originates from. She was inspired to write both The Bell Jar and The Fig Tree from her experiences as a young college girl and her severe struggles with depression. Plath's struggles with her mental health is seen very clearly in most of her poems and all of her writing. Um, it is clear that that really is what inspired her to write. And this is The Fig Tree, and I will read it right now. I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. From the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor, and another fig was Europe and Africa and South America, and another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attila, and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions, and another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion, and beyond and above these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. I saw myself sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest, and as I sat there unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one they plopped to the ground at my feet. The fig tree itself is the largest metaphor in the poem, and to understand the poem itself, the reader must understand what the fig tree represents. The fig tree itself in the poem represents all of the possible paths available in the narrator's life. The figs themselves represent possible futures that she could pick to live. Each fig represents one of her passions and desires. So each fig on this fig tree is a future that the narrator can see herself living and wants to work towards. However, she cannot choose all of them to live in one life. And now I will do a line by line analysis of the fig tree. Line 1, I saw my life branching out before me like the green fig tree in the story. This line introduces the imagery, which is used very heavily in this poem. The imagery is used to describe the tree's the figs, the futures, the narrator sitting below this fig tree and how she sees everything in her life playing out. So this line introduces the imagery of the fig tree by using words such as branching out, which suggests that um, the tree is very big and it has endless limbs. It also alludes to the symbolism that is used all throughout the poem, which is that the tree symbolizes life and the branches and figs represent individual passions and paths. Plath connects the idea of life to the tree by saying that the narrator's life was branching out before her. This also introduces another literary device that is used throughout the poem, which is personification. Plath gives human-like qualities to the fig tree, and that really adds to the depth of the metaphor. Line 2, from the tip of every branch, like a fat purple fig, a wonderful future beckoned and winked. This line shows more imagery by showing the aspects of a wonderful life as a fat purple fig. This takes an idea of a wonderful future and it kind of makes it into a drawing, that something that we can physically see. A fig tree has hundreds of figs, and this line suggests that this poem uses each fig to represent a wonderful future. And this shows that the narrator has hundreds of paths in life and hundreds of futures that she can see herself living, and that is inspiring her. The use of the word fat when describing the figs can be used to interpret that the futures were abundant, healthy, and happy. The way that the word fat is used in this saying, I'm fat and happy, as if it's very abundant and health and wellness. Personification is used more in this line by suggesting that the tree is winking and beckoning. The use of the word winked is most likely referring to the fact that each future shined brightly and to the narrator was filled with light and something that made her happy, and as well as the personification. However, it can also be analyzed as if each future was winking, seemingly teasing her. And this can also go back to the beginning of the line when it says from the tip of every branch. And so that as well as the winking can be seen as each future being just slightly out of reach and as if it is teasing the narrator. Line 3. One fig was a husband and a happy home and children, and another fig was a famous poet, and another fig was a brilliant professor, and another fig was E.G., the amazing editor, and another fig was Europe and Africa and South America, and another fig was Constantine and Socrates and Attila, and a pack of other lovers with queer names and offbeat professions, and another fig was an Olympic lady crew champion, and beyond and above these figs were many more figs I couldn't quite make out. This quote includes another literary device. It includes repetition by repeating the words another fig and another fig and another fig as she kind of lists her passions and these futures that she is seeing on this fig tree. This creates an overwhelming feeling and represents how the narrator has so much that she is passionate about and that there are too many paths that she wants to lead in life. The repetition at the beginning, it is seen as inspiring, as the narrator is inspired by all of these features, but just as it just continues and continues to go on, it can give the reader an anxious or overwhelming feeling that there's just too much. Her first fig that is listed is a husband and happy home and children, which relates to the society at the time, which is the 1960s. When women were pressured and expected to settle down young and get married and have children. So at this time, women were expected to put aside their own personal dreams and aspirations and ambitions, and it was just expected of them to just settle down and have children. And so this is most likely the reason why it is first. in the list because it is the most expected of her. This line just overall expresses the narrator's never-ending passion and her excitement for life. Line 4. I saw myself sitting at the crotch of this fig tree, starving to death, just because I couldn't make up my mind which of the figs I would choose. This line shows even more imagery, and uh, as it shows the narrator sitting in the crotch of this fig tree, it kind of creates an image in your mind of just what the scene is looking like. And this represents how she is sitting at the base of her life, looking towards the future. How she's kind of just looking up at these figs is like how she's looking ahead of her life, and she can only go forward. The word starving to death is a metaphor for how the narrator is craving more and feels as she's being nourished. She is kind of starving in the way that she just wants more from life, and she can't choose one passion, and so she's choosing none. This line also changed the mood of the poem, showing the juxtaposition Plath used, creating a sense of fear and uncertainty as she is unable to make up her mind and she is starving to death. This is very different to the feeling of the beginning of the poem, which was very light and inspired as she used words such as beckoning, and it just was a very light feeling at the beginning compared to now where she is feeling more of the anxiety. Line 5. I wanted each and every one of them, but choosing one meant losing all the rest, and as I sat there, unable to decide, the figs began to wrinkle and go black, and one by one they plopped to the ground at my feet. The final line of the poem shows strongly the narrator's feelings. She wants each and every one of them. She was overflowing with ambition. She is very indecisive of which fig to choose, of which future to go down. Her hesitation to decide caused the fig / her dreams to die, and which you see when the poem says that they wrinkle and go black and they plop to the ground. The fear of making a wrong choice causes one into intense hesitation, which ultimately can take away one's opportunities to go down certain paths in life. This poem is heavily connected to society, especially to the expectation of women at the time. This poem was written in the 1960s when women were expected / pressured to ignore their personal passions and dreams and get married and have children. This pressure was definitely placed onto Plath, and she was definitely pressured and expected to just give up her dreams and get married and have children, which she does express in this poem. This poem criticizes society heavily and society's expectations specifically on women. The meaning of the poem goes against societal roles, and it promotes personal growth and fulfillment. It kind of promotes just ignoring what society tells you to do and doing the things that you are passionate about and the things that inspire you. Plath explores many themes of identity and freedom in her poem, which resonates with the feminist movements at the time, which also connects it to society. The fig tree itself represents the multiple paths a woman can take in her life, and the decay and rotting of the figs can represent the limited choices and disappointment of women at the time. Women in the 1900s, they were very restricted, and they were expected to get married, have children, and if they didn't do that, then they were outcasted, which is expressed in the poem. There are many themes in this poem, and each one is very personal to the reader. I feel like everyone can read this poem and find something new, and it can resonate with them in a different way. The poem suggests that the overwhelming amount of paths one can take in life can cause paralyzing indecision. This hesitation is born out of fear and can take away opportunities in one's life. Another theme that is presented in the fig tree is that when one is overflowing with desire, ambition, and passion for life, they tend to feel more restricted when making decisions about their future. So, the basic theme of the poem is just that there are so many paths that one can take in their life, and the narrator feels this heavily with just the amount of things that she is passionate about and the amount of things that inspire her. It can paralyze someone, um, metaphorically, to have to pick just one thing to do for the rest of their life. And again, the themes of this poem are very personal to each reader. The reader can easily put themselves in the place of the narrator due to the relatability of the topic. The pattern in the poem, the fig tree is written in free verse and does not follow a traditional poem pattern, as it is not like just like a poem on its own. It is a part of a novel. It is a stanza, and there is no distinct rhyming or structure. The stanza, however, consists of repetition, and she repeats certain phrases to express a certain feeling, like the listing and another fig and another fig and another fig, that to express feelings of inspiration that turn into feelings of anxiety. Why did I choose this poem? I chose this poem because Sylvia Plath is one of my favorite poets and authors, and I loved reading The Bell Jar, and that is where I got introduced to this poem, and it did resonate with me a lot. Um, Overall, I just like the rhythm of the fig tree, and while it has no distinct poem pattern, it flows off the tongue very well. I just liked listening it, and I think it just is a nice sounding poem. I also relate to the meaning of the poem, and I wanted to use the opportunity of this assignment to dive deeper and find more meaning within it. Um, I am a junior in high school, and so right now in my life and the people around me, um, it is almost time to like apply to college and really figure out what to do with the rest of my life, which is the meaning of the poem, and so it is very relatable to me and many people, and the themes of overwhelming passion and indecision is just overall very relatable, especially um, because of the place I am in my life. Questions I have for the class is, what are your dreams in life? And do you think that society's expectations affect your dreams? Plath had a lot of societal pressure pushed onto her, um, especially to have children and settle down and get married. And this did affect her dreams, as shown in the poem, because it was the very first thing listed was get married, have kids. Another question is, how does one choose which path to take in life? How do you pick out of all of your passions which one is the thing for you? And what is the thing that you are most passionate about, and what features would your fig tree consist of? So Plath's fig tree consisted of being a mother, being a wife, traveling the world, being a poet, being a brilliant professor, being an author, writer, um, being free and having a lot of freedom. And so, what would your fig tree consist of? And all of your passions and inspirations. And I think that's a really good question to think about and just figure out, what are you truly passionate about in this life. And that is all from me. I heavily recommend reading The Bell Jar and The Fig Tree because I think that they are really eye-opening, and I think that the fig tree is a very good poem with a very good meaning, and I think it's very inspiring.